Euston, Britain's newest mainline station, and full of the latest architectural textures. White mosaic, black polished granite, aluminium, glass, reinforced concrete, and blue-black stove enamel steel. And people off to see friends this weekend. "23 acres in all, and in the concourse plenty of room for 30,000 passengers a day to hurry to and from trains, but no room for anybody to sit. There are no seats because British Rail says they would only attract vagrants. The seats in the bars are plastic and hard, and the superloo is sixpence. The only old things are the statues, saved from the famous Great Hall of the old station. The power box, all electric with buttons to push and little switches. Not so real somehow as the heavy signal levers of the Great Central. More like playing with toy trains.
The 9 hours to Manchester will leave from platform 13.
Calling Rugby, Stafford, Crewe, and Manchester Piccadilly.
Meals, light refreshments and drinks are available on this service.
Platform 13 for the 9 hours to Manchester.
It's not nearly so dramatic or so heroic as the Royal Scot of 40 years ago, but it's a lot cleaner, and it's faster, and this is the way railways are going. Today's top expresses can do the 188 miles from Euston to Manchester in as little as 150 minutes. And that, city centre to city centre, is faster than flying. The old goods train can be modern and glossy too. Twice a day, the Freightliner ships from Zeebrugge come into the Harwich terminal. The containers are pulled out of the hold, lowered onto lorries, and driven off to be lowered onto Freightliner trains. Containerization is a mighty big word, but what it means is that goods are packed into containers all the same size, which can be handled by the same cranes and the same lorries, and loaded onto long trains of the same sized trucks. Freightliners only started in 1965, but by next year they hope to have 80 Freightliner routes, carrying 1 million containers a year. 5 nights a week, around midnight, a Freightliner train leaves Harwich for Manchester. It travels at 75 miles an hour and gets in by breakfast time, and there are no stops on the way.
On on the slow train.
Sheffield, too, has a new way with freight. At the new electronic marshalling yard at Tinsley, the points change by computer tape, and the trucks are guided into one of 53 different sidings. From the spot where they are automatically sorted to the time they enter the right siding, trucks have a quarter of a mile to run. Tiny devices at the side of the rails sense how fast the truck is moving and either brake it or give it a boost. Tinsley covers 145 acres. Everything here has been built since 1961. It is one of the most modern and complex marshalling yards anywhere in the world. All this is a long, long way from the railways of 20 years ago. From the railways of 50 years ago, it is an age.
I started on railway at 6 shillings a week as a van boy. Time I was 20, I was getting £2 a week. I got married and raised a family up on 50 shillings a week. The most you could get was as a shunter, a guard, was 65 shillings a week. You know, you've been living on the poverty verge all those years. It's only just this last few years that it's got a lot better, and it's worth having now. I will say today, a railway career is worth having today.
As a railwayman, I enjoyed every minute of it. The bad hours, they had the compensation. I enjoyed them to the full, but there's only one thing, one disagreeable part of this life. It's part of social life, and in consequence, the wife's life was spoiled as well. And I think they're damn good women who stick to locomotive men. You know, I think they're really the salt of the earth, for the simple reason that their social life's ruined as well as ours.
I've had a good time, you know. I've had a good wife to look after me and that kind of thing. See to me when I got home and keep the kids quiet in the street. That's one of the main things. Go out to Rag and Bone and have a row with them, you know. Clear off, get off, you know. Rags and Bones are shouting and, oh, gosh, Tom woke up again. Keep the kids quiet. The kids will come home. Is my dad at work or is he in bed, you know, that kind of thing. And that was how you were in those days. All these chaps, you know, they're the same. They've had the same rotten hours as us. A fellow came up one day selling fish on his fish cart. And I just nicely got to sleep and he's shouting, oh, you know, I don't know. And I got up to the window and I said, I'll go and break your so-and-so neck if you don't shut up. Nicely got off to sleep, perhaps in the middle of the morning. Well, fancy getting home. You got home on some of those jobs at 10 in the morning, you see. Missus would be washing. Well, what could you do? If you went to bed, everybody were making her out. Kids were in the yard, shouting and screaming and playing about. But after all, I think we all enjoyed ourselves. I think railwaymen, they're a community of their own, you know. There's no other job, really, that had the rotten hours to put up with as we had. But by and large, I've had a good time and I've done very well.
We used to come from Gloucester with a slow, 7 o'clock from Gloucester in the morning to Birmingham New Street. And used to couple off the train, drop into the siding. They used to call that sidings the parlour. And my mate's job was, approaching New Street, was to swill the shovel out, get in the parlour, bacon, a couple of Gloucester eggs in the shovel and have a good fry up. And believe me, you can't get a better feed than bacon and eggs fried on a shovel. I've cooked steak, kippers, the lot on the old shovel. In fact, the company got a bit old-fashioned to it after a bit. They started drilling holes in the shovel so you couldn't use it as a frying pan. Yes. Yes, I used to enjoy my breakfast at Birmingham New Street at that time of day.
Sheffield Bridge Houses, the first terminus of the Sheffield-Manchester Railway, is in ruins. The navvies are smashing it up and burning the rubbish and bits and pieces. There aren't any potatoes here anymore, or any engines. Only the bulldozers of the demolition men. This was Bridge Houses in its glory, with lorries and clutter and cramped tiny buildings. the potato siding in the background, and the long canopy of the goods station on the left. Bridge Houses was one of 4 old goods yards in Sheffield. They've all vanished now. The old engineers built to last. They said their works would last 100 years. And even after 125, the bulldozers have a hard time tearing it all down.